I've got to give the WWE a lot of credit. I really have. Over these last 2 to 3 weeks, they've done a much better job of making WrestleMania feel like a WrestleMania, like it's a big-time show, especially going into a big anniversary WrestleMania, WrestleMania 30. And I think WWE have done a very good job of not only hyping up 4 or 5, sometimes 6 big matches for the pay-per-view and making them feel like big matches. I believe they've actually got a lot of the fans that were feeling a little bit negative about WrestleMania going into it and made them feel a lot better about the show in the way they've handled the main event and putting Daniel Bryan in there and the way they've done the storyline revolving around him. Because Daniel Bryan is going to be involved in 2 matches at WrestleMania, potentially. So he's going to be a massive part of the show. So really, WrestleMania 30, in my opinion, is feeling like a pretty big show going in. And this week's edition of Smackdown, I felt reflected that. It did a good job of hyping a lot of these sort of smaller matches going into WrestleMania, as well as giving little bits of hype to some of the bigger matches that are going to be happening on the show. Let's get into this review. If you have any comments on the show or going into WrestleMania, let me know down in the comment section below, please. So we opened up the show with none other than The Authority. We have them open Raw every week, and they're opening Smackdown every week now. Other than this week, it wasn't Triple H. It was none other than Kane, who was pretty much spouting authority propaganda, much like the media and newspaper and other such sources spout their propaganda to the whole damn world. He announces that at WrestleMania, Triple H will end the Yes Movement, and what happened to Daniel Bryan on Raw was the fans' fault. Yes, all you people chanting yes, 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 it was all your fault for obvious reasons, which I do not need to go into in this video. I'm just kidding, of course. And that the Authority is the best. That's pretty much the message I got from this promo segment, that the Authority is the best, no one is bigger than them, no one is better than them, and no one could beat them. Now let's face it, the Authority does contain 2 Breakfast Club members in Triple H and Randy Orton, so, you know, it's going to take a lot of beating, let's face it. And then he reads out a Triple H letter explaining his reasons as to what he did for Daniel Bryan on Raw, and why he won't be there at SmackDown this week. I mean, he's Triple H, he's a COO. He is a very busy man. He can't make it to every damn taping. He's more of a part-timer now, let's face it, going into WrestleMania season. You know, I was really surprised, actually, and I was quite happy to be surprised that no one came out and interrupted Kane. You know, usually you'd have a Daniel Bryan or a babyface come out and interrupt Kane or something, but no one interrupted him, you know, which was kind of a pleasant surprise for me. And maybe they were doing this to try and sell Daniel Bryan's injuries from Raw, which they did give us an update on during this show, basically saying he's got these injuries, but he will definitely still make it to WrestleMania 30. He will make sure he does. That's pretty much the message they gave here. As for the main event of Raw, that was a damn fine beatdown by Triple H, wasn't it? Triple H really showed me here in this segment why him and Stephanie McMahon are the A+ heels in this corporation right now. The stipulation was added to Daniel Bryan and Triple H's match that whoever won that match will be inserted into the WWE World Heavyweight Championship main event. Now, does this mean that there is more chance of Daniel Bryan winning? You know, I think it adds a little bit more drama to it now, because some people, rightfully so, are thinking, man, if he's going to be in the triple threat now, Triple H is probably going to win this match. But they didn't want to make it so obvious that Daniel Bryan was going to win. So allowing Triple H into this match, if he wins, kind of adds a little bit more drama to that match, in my opinion. But surely WWE won't do what I think they might do and have Triple H win and then go on and possibly win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship for the 14th time in the main event of WrestleMania 30. Don't be surprised if it happens. I'm just saying, as the Schleg Daddy would say, Triple H is a god. I'm just saying. But I will say this, though. Raw's rating, and I know people don't like me talking about ratings, but it dipped below a 3.0 for the first time since, I believe, January and the beginning of the year. That's not very good going into WrestleMania 30, really, though, is it? Let's face it. So we had a Tag Team Championship #1 contendership match on this show. It was Ryback versus 3MB for some reason, because, you know, when was the last time they won a match? Versus The Shield versus the Real Americans. And I guess my first 2 thoughts about this match were, #1, all these tag teams are heel, apart from The Shield, who are kind of tweeners right now. And secondly, where the hell were the Rhodes Brothers? I guess those are my first thoughts going into this, but really, this match became quite inconsequential because of the way this match finished in a DQ and what it was really leading up to. It led up to 2 possible matches of WrestleMania, in my opinion. You had Kane and the New Age Outlaws coming out to attack Roman Reigns while the other tag teams beat down Rollins and Ambrose, the rest of the Shield, which kind of looks like now they're setting up for Kane and the New Age Outlaws versus the Shield at WrestleMania 30, which should be a good match, really. And they're also setting up the Usos versus Ryback versus the Real Americans going into WrestleMania 30 for the Tag Team Championships by basically having Kane give the reward to Real Americans and the Ryback for what they did here, giving them the Tag Team Championship, while giving 3MB a role in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal Memorial. I really thought for a minute Kane was going to fire them or something, but he ended up doing that instead. I guess they need some jobbers in there. That's all I'll say about that. But this segment did a good job in my opinion. Even though the match was very inconsequential and it should have been a number one contendership match, it's done a good job in setting up 2 matches for WrestleMania, officially or non-officially. We got the build now going for those 2 matches from this segment, which I thought was a good use of this segment. You know when WWE are very serious about the Andre the Giant Battle Royal Memorial when they devote 4 segments of the show to actually hyping this up and hyping up the competitors in this match. We had a Miz TV segment which formed the crux of these 4 segments. We had The Miz, Big Show, Titus O'Neil, Kofi Kingston, Del Rio, Big E, Cody Rhodes, Mark Henry, Goldust, and Sheamus. They all end up brawling in the ring. It very quickly comes down to Big Show winning and what I really feel was a practice battle royal for his win at WrestleMania. I mean, you know, it would make the most sense, even though I would love a young and up-and-comer to win this and that would give them a rub. In my opinion, after having all those losses and all those embarrassments at WrestleMania, it would make the most sense for Big Show to win this. You know, there are massive comparisons between Big Show and Andre the Giant. So to have Big Show win, in my opinion, would make a hell of a lot of sense. We had 3 other matches on this show. Sandow versus Ziggler. As soon as I saw that match, I switched off and skipped this because I'm tired of seeing these 2 face off. We had Fernando beating Fandango. I don't know if this is to hype up the Battle Royal, but it was funny otherwise. And we had Del Rio defeating Big E Langston, which kind of surprised me a little bit because I believe Del Rio's contract is coming up soon and they don't really want to re-sign him. So I'm quite surprised Del Rio went over Big E Langston here, especially as Langston is the Intercontinental Champion and is one of the, I guess, the favourites for that Andre the Giant Battle Royal. But either way, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal has been made to feel like a damn big deal so far. You have Hogan announcing it. You have superstars announcing that they're going to be in it, quite similar to the WWE Royal Rumble. It feels like a different match from what you'd see on a general WrestleMania, a 30-man Battle Royal. And not only that, but it got 4 segments on this show devoted, or maybe 3. It got 3 or 4 segments on this show to devote hyping up to it. That is how you make such thing feel like a big deal, other than the fact that it's the damn Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, for God's sake. I was really glad when I heard that Mr. T was going to be in the Hall of Fame because, you know, it's always good for me as a wrestling fan because I wasn't around with WrestleMania 1 and 2 and 3 and, you know, I like going back and like looking at the history of the wrestling business and stuff, and I've had a very good education about the wrestling business on here from a lot of YouTubers, you know, more specifically the Schleg Daddy, who has done a very good WrestleMania review series. I've watched every single one, and it's very good to see such people's insights into the history of the business. And as I am led to believe, a guy like Mr. T was massively pivotal in WrestleMania really being a big success, and Mr. T was a real big linchpin in really forming the celebrity and, you know, wrestling connection and making it into a worldwide entertainment brand. So for that, I believe, much like Mike Tyson did for the Attitude Era, I believe Mr. T did for the future of wrestling as an international conglomerate, in my opinion. So I was very glad to see that Mr. T was inducted in the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame. I'm very glad about that. You know, I understand that WWE are really trying their best to get, you know, Alexander Rusev's and Lana's name out there, but Rusev's in particular, by having him in these, you know, promo segments on the stage on Raw and Smackdown on a consistent basis. And I know that WWE really are very high on Alexander Rusev. I can just tell by the way they book him on NXT that, you know, they're really going to try and do something with this guy. And I guess my question is, after all this, you know, going into WrestleMania and everything, you know, what is the end game for Alexander Rusev going to be? Is he going to be in the, you know, Memorial Battle Royal? Is he going to debut after WrestleMania? You know, what's his first feud going to be? I just wonder what the end game for an Alexander Rusev is going to be. Is he going to be the muscle for the Authority or something? You know, put your thoughts down in the comment section below as to what you think WWE are going to do with Alexander Rusev, or who you feel they may feud with him when he eventually makes his proper in-ring debut in the WWE, which I guess will be just after WrestleMania. You know, it's amazing how much Bray Wyatt gets my attention when he's talking. Whenever Bray Wyatt is on the screen, I need to listen to what he has to say. You know, ever since NXT and ever since he's developed that character in NXT, I mean, hell, I remember when I first saw the Bray Wyatt gimmick, I thought it was kind of stupid, but the character really grew on me. And I think this is what will really make the character into a big star for the WWE. He just automatically grabs your attention by the way he looks, by the way he acts, and by the way he speaks. And like I said, in my opinion, this feud with John Cena, if nothing else, will really raise his profile a lot. Even if John Cena defeats him at WrestleMania, you know, it will raise his profile a lot. Working with a guy like John Cena, who is, let's face it, the top babyface in WWE and probably the biggest money draw they have on the full-time roster right now, if you discount Batista, who's only there for 2 years. I think WWE have done a very good job in building up this match. And I will say this, the WWE have always done a very good job with their production and their video packages and the way they present their product, etc. And I will say this, the video package they had on this week's edition of Smackdown, for me personally, and the way they did it and the song they had and the presentation of it and the video package they had, you know, it did a lot to me to hype up this match. And I believe for me, it got me more hyped up for this match more than any segment from this point onwards could really do, in my opinion. So WWE, great job there on the video package, I felt. We get to the main event match of this SmackDown, which was John Cena versus Luke Harper. I was actually eagerly anticipating this match because I've seen Luke Harper have some very good matches with people like CM Punk, with people like Daniel Bryan. And I was very interested to see how he would go up against a sort of a bigger guy, you know, like a John Cena, for example, who's 270, 280 pounds. And I guess at the end of the day, going into this match, we all knew Cena was going to win in his typical, you know, hey, blah, 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 fashion, etc. And he had to look very strong. And let's face it, he needs to go into WrestleMania 30 looking strong to make Bray Wyatt also look stronger. So while I agree that, you know, having the Wyatt family getting one up on John Cena on a consistent basis is a good thing, eventually the babyfaces do need to kind of look strong in order to make their opponent, who, you know, let's face it, is probably on this level compared to this level for Cena right now, in order to make their opponent, you know, look at that level, in my opinion. And, you know, it was, you know, Luke Harper looked very strong in this match as well. He looked like he had John Cena's number a couple of times. But in the end, John Cena wins, looks strong. You know, the Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family have won up John Cena on many occasions. This was one of the probably very little occasions that John Cena will get one up on Bray Wyatt. And let's face it, it didn't happen on Raw, it happened on SmackDown, which gets, you know, many less viewers than Raw, let's face it. But as I said, good match, correct booking in my opinion, and the Bray Wyatt character and the John Cena character really seem to be starting to mesh in this feud right now. Must admit, really looking forward to their match at WrestleMania. You know, I think one thing that WWE have done very well lately with SmackDown, and it's one of the reasons why I think SmackDown has improved a lot as a show lately, is number one, they seem to have really made this show a little bit more story-driven now than what it usually has. Generally, SmackDown will be the kind of show that has really good wrestling, but not very much angle or storyline or character advancement, whereas lately we have had a lot of that. Not just that, in my opinion, but the main events have been very refreshing lately. It's not just been the same thing in the main event each week. We've had Daniel Bryan and that stuff with Orton and Batista in the main event 2 weeks ago. Last week it was the Shield, you know, versus the Authority and Kane in the main event, and it was focused around that. This week the show was focused in the main event on the Authority stuff as well, but this time John Cena and the Bray Wyatt feud, you know, with the Wyatt family, etc., were the main event. And it's just very refreshing when you have different things ending the show. If you remember, a lot of the worst SmackDown shows were the ones where you had like Randy Orton always ending the show, or Del Rio always ending the show, or the worst one, Sheamus always winning clean and ending the show. So it's very refreshing that SmackDown has, you know, resorted to a variety of main events, especially when they have a lot of big matches to choose from going into WrestleMania to spotlight in the main event, not just a SmackDown, but also on Raw. I mean, the Triple H Daniel Bryan storyline could very easily main event Raw. The Undertaker match against Brock Lesnar could very easily main event Raw. Hell, Batista and Orton and that stuff could very easily main event Raw if you give them a good storyline. So it's quite refreshing how much stuff can be the focal point of the show right now. That's all I'm saying. But SmackDown this week I thought was a good show. Like I said, a lot more storyline advancement here, which I felt was very good about the show compared to a general SmackDown show. The build going into WrestleMania is a lot better, and this show feels a lot bigger now and a lot better, especially after, you know, the announcement of Triple H and Daniel Bryan and what that could possibly lead to a lot of Daniel Bryan fans who just really, really, really wanted Daniel Bryan to be in the main event. Yes, 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 and all that bollocks. If you have any comments on the show, please put them in the comment section below. I've been Mr. Parker, and I'll be here same time next week. Also, make sure you check out my NXT review, which I did last night as well. See you later, guys.